What's up everyone, welcome to something a little bit different today, something a little bit fresh. Over this past weekend I have had the opportunity to be involved in the Diablo 2 Resurrected open beta. I played it with a friend of mine, and I do have some thoughts on it. Before we get into it, I do want to kind of clarify and say I did not play Diablo 2 originally when it released way back when. I did not play the first Diablo game. I have played Diablo 3 to death, and yeah, I haven't played the original 2 mainly because I didn't have access to a PC at that time. So this is a perspective coming from someone who has not played Diablo 2 before but has played Diablo 3. So my opinions are kind of my own, and I don't have a kind of a base to kind of compare on because I've never played the original game. Although it is apparently a lot of the same. It's very similar to Diablo 2 original, which is always a good thing with these kind of remasters, to be as kind of close to the original as it possibly can be. So today we're going to go over what I really enjoyed about the game, what I didn't really enjoy about the game, or that could change, even though it probably won't, because this is just a remaster really, but there's some kind of issues I have with it, which I'm sure I'll get roasted for, because I never played it originally. But either way, if you had an opportunity to jump into the beta, do let me know what you think. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Either way, let me know. And remember to subscribe to the channel for more Resident Evil, horror, and Souls-like content. And without any further ado, let's jump into it. So first things first, I'll talk about my class and then try and talk about the class my friend chose. I chose the Paladin class. This is again the class I went for in Diablo 3 as a main. The ability to heal and buff allies nearby is very, very useful, especially when you're kind of overwhelmed. Weapon choices are always good, obviously swords, axes and shields and stuff like that, very, very cool. Has a lot of kind of magic abilities as well, which I really quite like. They all look pretty clean as well when you do get to use them, and I really enjoyed the class overall. The depth of customization in this game is actually quite big. You have a lot of different skills you can assign. There's obviously like a point system where you can upgrade your strength, your mana, your stamina, all those kind of things as well. Each class very much has unique abilities they can use. Again, for instance, I had 2 abilities on, one that healed teammates nearby, and then one that increases damage you give nearby, which is pretty cool. As well as later on, which isn't in the footage, where you get like a magic kind of explosion around you that sets things on fire when they get near you, or when you hit them they set on fire. So it's all pretty cool. A lot of mana consumption, but very much worth it. It is very cool to see out in combat, all this stuff going off. And it definitely helps the team, so that's always a plus. My friend's class I can't really speak for because I didn't play the class, but it did seem to be a pretty high damage class. He was playing the Amazon, had a lot of spear throws. I don't know if that's a thing that they do better than anyone else, or just something he went before, but big damage, that's all I can say. A lot of damage came from it, and obviously me healing and stuff like that and buffing damage, it kind of paired quite well, which I thought was pretty nice. So classes overall, I would say, is very cool. Obviously in Diablo style you have the big open areas you have to map yourself. I really like this system. It really encourages exploration, and again I do believe Diablo 2 was still a procedurally generated game, so it would always be different on a different run. The dungeons we got into, there was a couple of them we did, were quite huge, which is always again a plus. It took us a while to get through, which again is not a complaint. I want to play a game and be able to put the time in that I've paid for, and this is definitely a game you can do that in. It was a lot of fun. Difficult moments did appear, but again, part of the fun is when it gets hard. For me at least, you know me by now, I like playing hard shit in games, so definitely a more enjoyable point for me as well. Dungeons are very cool, enemy designs are really cool. It definitely looks old school even with the updated graphics, which I really like. I like the art style. The music is incredible. I really like the soundtrack playing in the background, whether it's on the overworld or in the caves. It's very cool to listen to, and it fits the tone very nicely. Next thing I want to talk about is the loot and customization and the inventory and stuff like that. The inventory is a limited inventory. Again, I have no issue with this. I'm very familiar with it in old school Resident Evil games, limited inventory. It feels like an attach kit system in a way. Obviously you have to kind of move things so things can fit in, which again I really like. So I'm not unfamiliar with this type of loot system, whether it being like a limited box of inventory where you have to move things around. It's definitely something I'm very familiar with and got used to it quite well. You kind of do take up a lot of space with potions and unnecessary items, which we'll get to in a minute. But it definitely feels pretty nice to use. My biggest issue with the loot in the game is it just gives you random things that you can't use. I don't really know why that's the case, but you will play a class and your friend will play a different class, and then you'll get, obviously it's a shared loot system, so everything that drops everyone can see. You can kind of discuss who wants what, which is fine. Even if I was spamming X the entire time, as a joke, obviously, but you know. And yeah, either way, the loot that drops can be sometimes for a class that no one is playing right then, and it is kind of annoying when you get this really good thing and it's like, oh my god, what is this? You pick it up and it's like, oh, requires druid class, and it's like, well, neither of us are playing this class, so why are we getting this? That's just an issue on my end. Obviously I know that, you know, you can kind of just, you know, get plenty of loot for your class eventually, but more often than not we would get something that was not for either of our classes, or just a constant stream of arrows, but no bows, which was weird. I didn't really see any bows that much, but I had plenty of times where I go in my inventory and I'd be like, okay, I got like 4 stacks of arrows for some reason, even though I don't use a bow, and it was just a minor inconvenience, and it's kind of annoying to fight a boss and then get rewards and then it's completely not tied to your class and you can't use it. There was a couple of moments where, you know, one of us got an item for the other person's class and we were like, okay, I have this because I can't use it, and that was very cool. And I do obviously believe, you know, more players in the game, because I believe the game has quite a high player support in a lobby. Obviously, if there's variations of the classes, it's going to be a bit more even, because you're going to get stuff for each class as you're playing with more people playing different classes. But with a small amount of players, and I'd imagine, especially if you're playing solo, and you're playing, for example, again, the Paladin, and you get something for the Amazon, or something for the Druid, it's going to be slightly annoying, obviously. Another thing on the loot system that I actually do quite like, even if, again, you can get stuff that isn't for your class, is the unidentified items that appear that you need the scrolls to identify with. That's very, very cool. I do like that system. It is a bit of RNG in there, because you don't really know what it's going to be, or how good it's going to be, or if it's even useful for your class, but it's still a nice touch to kind of get this random rewards every so often. I think it's very, very cool. Again, with the loot system how it is, when you get stuff that's not for your class, which is obviously not that big a deal, it just kind of annoyed me a little bit, because it didn't happen all the time, but when it did, it was kind of like, okay, that's fine. But, yeah, the identifying loot system is very, very cool. I quite like that. And that's all I really have to say about the loot of the game. One thing I will mention, and this is probably the last thing I'll mention, is the difficulty of the game. This is not a complaint from me. I do enjoy playing difficult things, as you can probably tell from the channel as it is. We were playing normal, and I do know these games scale well more for the players. Obviously there's more players, there's more enemies, they're harder to beat, you know, that kind of thing. It is a thing that happens in these type of games. But at times it was like a struggle. Not like an impossible struggle, obviously it was possible. But there was times where you really had to kind of like focus in and use your abilities and not die and focus a certain enemy type, which again I really enjoy, but it did happen a lot more frequently than I expected. Especially because this is apparently Act 1 of the game. You get to play in the beta. So it was strangely difficult for the first act, and it was on normal. But that's not a complaint. Again, that's not a complaint. I do like difficult things in games, and it was definitely a difficult task. So, not a complaint from me, but the difficulty scaling was kind of weird. Like, one point it was just normal skeletons and zombies where they would like take 2 hits, and then you go around the next corner and there'd be like a boss that could freeze you all the time and do like a shit ton of damage. And it was like, alright then. Like, it really would come out of nowhere, because it wasn't really a boss, it was like one of those gold bar enemies, like the special enemies. It was weird, but at the same time it was quite funny. It really kind of threw a spanner in the works and required us to actually think for a moment, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, this has been my kind of thoughts on Diablo 2 open beta this past weekend. I'll definitely be getting the game when it is released at some point. I really do love Diablo 3. I think it's incredible. I've played it through multiple times on multiple characters. It is a blast to play. I cannot wait for Diablo 4, so to pass the time, obviously for that to release, which hopefully is next year, Diablo 2 Remake is a thing, and I will definitely be playing it and enjoying it when it comes out. So if you did play the beta, do let me know what you think. If you have played the original Diablo 2, let me know how it compares to that. I do believe it's quite similar for the most part. But either way, any Diablo 2 veterans watching this video, do let me know if anything I've said was true with the original or different, because I don't actually know. But yeah, thank you for watching. Remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe for more Resident Evil horror and Souls content, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video.